Hello and welcome to Danger Recall, the show where we talk about our show, the Danger Club podcast. We're going to go deep diving on episode 2 and maybe 3. We see how far we get along. With me today, I'm Colin Hubbard from the Danger Club podcast. I'm going to be the host on Danger Recall this week. And with me, my guests, James Lockhart.
Hello.
I didn't think you were going to say anything then. I thought you were just going to stay silent. How you doing today, James?
I'm good. Thanks. Yeah. Good.
Nice one. And Daniel Thompson. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good. I'm wrapped up warm. I've got my leggings on. I'm ready to record. A good
Nice.
winter's day activity, some podcasting.
Do many people call you Daniel?
Only if I am in trouble or going somewhere official. Right. Any banks and things will do. But
Sure. I sometimes call you Daniel. I don't know. I think that's like a southern thing. Like sometimes we go, "Hello, Daniel." Do you know what I mean? Like you get a bunch of Cockneys do that. Not that I'm a Cockney, but you know what I mean.
I sometimes call Dan Daniel if he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I was complete weird trivia. I was very nearly named Ross. It was changed at the last minute, and then when I was young, I complained at my mum that she didn't call me James. So clearly, I was meant to be friends with them all.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I never had any interest in being called Colin. I'm afraid that never came up.
Now,
Colin, of course, now that's all I want to be.
Weird old name, Colin. Always in comedy shows, they have like the idiot called Colin, don't they? It's like, oh, Colin. Do you know what I mean? I'm all right with it. I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? Listen, today we are going to do episode 2. We're going to talk about episode 2, and we might talk about episode 3 as well. But first up, episode 2. This went out on the 18th of July on 2018, and it was called How to Maim Your Dragon. Daniel, you named this episode, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, I did.
I'll stop calling you Daniel on the podcast. You're in trouble, Dan. How to Maim Your Dragon. Is that a take on How to Train Your Dragon?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite episode titles that I came up with. We had to name the first 3 all in one, and I immediately, this was the first one where I was like, that's what I'm calling this episode. And I was
fantastic.
Before we recorded it, I was excited about that. And it's not there's a joke in it later on. We'll get to it where we talk about title of the episode.
Right.
And it's something we talked about before with naming episodes, is that we often make title of the episode joke in the episode, but that never ends up being the title of the episode. And it's because it's not because I'm like, oh no, it has to be what I came up with. It's because if we say it on the episode, it already got a laugh. So that joke's done. So there's now a chance to have another joke by having a diff run, just doing the same joke twice, try and do a second joke. We're getting straight in on the analysis. How about that?
I love it. How to Train Your Dragon, incidentally, is a film which I believe was released in about 2007. I might be wrong on that date, but it's awesome. It's a really good film, actually. It's a really fun little film. I think there's been a bunch of spin-offs, and there's a TV show now. I haven't seen those, but that film was really good. I was working in a school at the time, and I took a bunch of children off to see that, and they loved it. They absolutely really loved it. So, if you've got children, show them that film, or if you haven't, just go and enjoy it. I don't know. It's up to you. Don't let me tell you what to do. So, have we got a summary of this episode?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So this is a nice simple one. After the big setup of the first one, we have got our heroes going around the carnival. They've just heard dragon being shouted, so they go off to the midway where the petting zoo is, and they get into a fight with what people think is a dragon. It's been advertised as a dragon. It's a big lizard. They brutally destroy the lizard in seconds, and then which triggers a great wave of despair from the carnies who own it. They meet Fardeen the Panotti properly for the first time, make him cry some more, bully him a bit. He cries again. They have a fight they kidnap Travis again. They shout at some of the other carnival folk. Then they go back to the tent and they have some more beers. Then they decide that they want to meet somebody from the head of the carnival. It's never made exactly clear who. There are several people that they're very angry and they definitely want to see. And they end up storming backstage and nearly getting into a fight with the carnival's guards until it gradually diffuses and they agree to go back to town and sober up. But it nearly ends in a fight with the whole carnival. And that's it's just drinking and fighting dragons. It's very classic Advent RPG, this episode.
It's genius. That's what we love. Now we're going to get straight into it. In this episode, we have our first play of the lobby music.
Is it?
The lobby music, which goes through every episode apart from episode 1. So there you go. Now, we don't have a hello and welcome to the Danger Club podcast yet. So we're going to listen out for that. We're not sure when that comes in, but it's not in episode 2.
Yeah, I can't remember when we first started doing that. It's our first previously as well. It's our first recap.
That's right. Yeah, we had our first previously on. We're still in my living room, by the way, with one microphone. So that's the first 3 episodes. So
same day, isn't it? Same night as the same evening that we recorded the episode 1.
We have again look forward to your tweets, but we don't have a tweet us just yet. We have music by Ross Budgeon throughout the episodes. We have our first spell as well, which is Aspect of the Falcon by Shania. What does that spell do again? I can't remember.
Aspect of the Falcon grants you a bonus to perception checks and bonus to attacks with bows and crossbows, or as Drum said, bows. Just very, very good bows, and it makes you look like a creepy bird creature.
Lovely.
Is that the Shania's first spell? It wasn't the first spell. Yeah, because Velda casts Ghost Sound in the episode before.
Yes, he does.
To try and steal some beer.
Oh, we missed that.
That's all right. That's a little bonus. A little bonus there, Brucey bonus.
A little bonus for you. Now, 11:22, we have a reference which says "clever girl" from Scott. That is a reference to
Jurassic Park.
Of course it's Jurassic Park.
But
some people might not have seen that film. Who knows? There's a really famous scene where a guy's going through the woods. Spoilers here. I'm not going to do it just in case you haven't seen it. But Jurassic Park is genuinely a very, very decent film.
Great movie. I will be shocked if that is our last clever girl reference in this show. I'm sure it's a well we go back to.
Yeah. At 12:57, we have our first roll for initiative.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Before that, at 12:16, we have a Fardeen reference. Although we don't know who he is yet, we just see a guy with big ears.
Well, because Fardeen's in the beer tent in episode 1, and he walks out. But you wouldn't know because he, again, like everyone else in episode 1, he has a completely different voice to everyone else.
Also missed in episode 1, we did have Moncolio kind of shouted at Fulton and went, "Hey, Fulton!" Fulton goes, fuck you. So we missed that in last week's episode. We're going to try and hit all of these. Hopefully you're on the Discord shouting about this already anyway, because that's what we want. We want you to tell us what we've missed in our deep dives. So we have our first roll for initiative, which is great. Fulton hits. We have Shania saying, "Mind your back, dwarf," which I loved. I think that makes its way into some of our promo material. Shania misses. We have a pause at 23 minutes as Drum opens a beer and spills it all over himself. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
Again, we're opening beers all the way through these episodes because we're still drinking, but it's really funny. We're all trying to be really serious in this fight and stuff like that, and then Drum opens a beer after his game and it just goes all over himself, all over the floor, all over the table. It's crazy.
Actually, that is something to track, because I'm sure that happens again in later episodes where he opens something or just at terrible timings or spills something.
This was the second reason why I wanted us all to use apps for character sheets for this. So we were mostly using Path Builder and RPG Scribe early on for everyone's character sheets for First Ed. And part of that was because I was like, I just want everyone to be able to keep a track of where their numbers are coming from, because we'd just been finished playing like a mid-level campaign up to like level 13, and most people were just like, "That's my score. I have no idea where it's from. Like, I've got a bonus from something I'm wearing, and I don't really know, but that's why I've got it on." And it's easy to do. I do it on my games. So I was like, let's have an app so it does all the maths for you and you know exactly what it is. But also because we'd had plenty of evenings in the pub where we'd had to peg character sheets up to dry because someone had just knocked a pint over the gaming table and everyone's sheets had gotten soaked. And so you just had to let them dry out.
Madness. No, it's also bad if you spill a beer on your iPad or whatever, so watch out for that, Dangerlings. At 25:30, M hits and has the first kill. MZ, first kill of the game. Woo, MZ, yeah. I love that. I love the fact that MZ got that. High fives.
Do you remember what the death phrase was when you killed it?
No, I don't. What did I say?
No, it was what I said. I was trying to work out how to say "and you've killed the monster" because I'd trying to twig. That's a thing you do in streaming shows. Like obviously Matt Mercer has. How do you want to do this?
Yeah.
And I'd been using that in home games. And I was like, it can't be that. We need to think of something cool. We need to think of something. And you killed it. And I was like, and that. And there's like a pause where my brain tries to work it out, and I just go, "Is a kill." And I was like, that was awful. Like looking at that's how Rory Bravori would GM that section there. That's I was like, that doesn't work. So that never gets used again.
Now in the game, Dan, just to deep dive on that, in the game, nobody ever kills that lizard, right?
So that's like that. The lizard's meant to be quite a. This is a weird thing because we always kind of joke about like how terrible you guys' dice rolls are early on, and especially when it came later on to Sick Wolf and their adventures and the deadly sort of first encounters. But that is actually quite a tough first fight. Like you're not meant to kill that lizard. It's meant to be like you fight it for like a round, and if the module is something like they fight it for one round, and if they do a bit of damage to it, it immediately surrenders because it's just an animal and it gives up. And then everyone's like, "Hooray!"
Yeah,
and it was like,
well, the thing is that this comes up a bit, so I won't delve on too much. But everyone rolls badly except for Fulton, and I'm sure we were all under the impression, like, well, this is it now. Like he's just unstoppable, like pulling this massive damage. 14, I believe, he did against the Drake, or it was phenomenal. Oh, but then we know what happens then.
Right, we've got to move on. 25 minutes in, we have high fives. We don't know that high fives are bad on microphones yet. I should have known that all way back when, but we still do it. Bunch of idiots. 27:15, Fulton says, "I'm the king of the festival."
Yeah.
So he already gets that wrong, which is great. Fardine speaks at 29:44. Then we have at 36, we start slapping each other.
Oh, no.
Then we start slapping Fardine, which is really horrible.
He gets a rough ride.
Do you want to know what a panotti is?
Yeah, go on.
There he is. So, can you guess? Take one guess at what author invented the panotti. If it's a game designer, a fantasy author, or who do you think invented the panotti for them to put it in this game?
Don't know.
What do you reckon, James? Give us an author who you think might have come up with something that crazy.
Probably something Alice in Wonderland or something like that. So like Lewis Carroll or something like that.
You're close. It's Pliny the Elder.
Oh wow! Of course it is Pliny the Elder.
They are from Pliny's Natural History. They were believed to be. They are literally as they are. They're grey-skinned people with huge ears that they use to shade themselves from the sun. I'm not sure if they fly in that version of it. But yeah, like I love that they just plucked something like that obscure out. Like there's probably something that would have been on like the Mappa Mundi or something like that. It's that kind of thing. But they don't have that voice.
I love the fact that we're all laughing at him. It's so horrible.
It's so horrible.
We have this whole discussion about what Shania's name is because we don't know yet what her name is, but we call her Philippe's owner. That's how we know them. At 44:05, there's an arrow sound bleeping out an expletive. Do we remember this?
Oh yeah, I remember that expletive.
Oh yeah.
Episode 2.
Episode 2, we dropped, and I suppose, the Dangerlings listen to this. You're pretty big fans. We dropped a C-bomb, and we decided at that moment that we're not really going to do that because it makes the podcast a little bit too extreme. So we thought we'll be able to swear. We're going to be 15. We're going to be, a 15 movie as opposed to an 18 movie.
In defense of that Danger Club member, the timing was excellent, and it did from a humor point of view because this sort of like the tide had turned, and we were like, no, maybe we're going to be friendly with this panotti, and then it's just and then that was dropped. It was a bit
much, so we covered it up with an arrow, but we decided not to use it and not keep doing the arrow sound. So that's why we try not to do it from then on. At 48:22, we have a song which goes, "All around me are familiar faces." Remember this?
Yeah.
This was a song called Mad World which was Christmas #1 in 2003 by Gary Jules, featured in the film Donnie Darko, which was released in 2001. It's been used in many American TV shows: CSI, Jericho, The OC, Smallville, House, and Riverdale. But originally, this song is by Tears for Fears. It's written by Roland Orzabay and sung by bassist Kurt Smith, and it hit #3 in the charts in 1982. How's that for a deep dive?
Good trivia. I like that.
All right. We have a reference to 24-hour party orc as well, which is a reference to 24-hour party people, which is a phrase coined in the kind of mid-90s and was a film in the mid-noughties about the kind of scene in Manchester. Actually, the late 80s. What am I talking about?
Yeah, it was the
mid-noughties. What am I talking about? That's where it ended. At 59, we meet Dennis, which Caragor loves. Dennis, a little bit of Dennis. It's just over an hour. We have Venlog the Scourge, which is played by Idris Elba. He's got to be in everything, isn't he? Really?
Well, this was my original thing about to help people visualize, because it's an audio thing of let's cast everyone. Let's try and have all the key NPCs have an actor play them so people can think of it in their heads. And I kind of did it with Idris Elba and then never did it for anyone else. And we just kind of moved, because it just ended up becoming this thing of being like, it's a bit of a millstone if you keep doing that. So, and it means we can never use actual art of them. We can never get art of any of these characters because their images are copyrighted. So let's just move on from it. But yeah, so Idris Elba ends up being in it. And I think he comes back.
He comes back a little bit later.
He does reappear again as Venlock. He's in it a couple of times. I was really taken by surprise by how you guys handled a lot of those first couple of episodes, and that, like, a lot of the early half of the adventure. To be honest, like the Danger Club are like, I've kind of noted down that they're like this kind of really violent group of Karens. Like, they really want to speak to the manager, but they don't know exactly which manager they want to speak to. And they will kill you if you don't let them speak to whichever manager they are thinking of at that particular moment, but they don't know what it is. They're just, and they're really fixated on fixing Velda's problem, but not in a way that will fix it for Velda. And they're just angry and just want to fight everybody. And because I kind of was like, right, I'm going to set up as a carnival because you guys will instantly have an affinity with circus folk, because we're all performers. We will work with circus folk. We work with carnies. We'll all there'll be a natural connection there and you'll want to follow the plot. And what I didn't take into account was, of course, as performers, most of us have at some point been screwed over by money, by a carny, by somebody who works in one of these things. So I think everyone suddenly just visualized that when we started meeting people, and it all just kicked off.
I'm sorry, just to go back on the song, it was written by Roland Orzabay. I said his name wrong, just to make sure. I wrote down here, just to connect with that, Dan, we were still messing about the 25 gold pieces at this point. We then kidnapped Travis, and when we speak to the guys backstage at the carnival, Panotti is described as an idiot, a liar, and a thief. I'd completely forgotten that.
Really?
Completely forgotten it. Like, I think I forgot it straight away by episode 3. So, and then we walk away to get a rest, and that's the end of episode 2. Thoughts on episode 2, team?
It was. I sort of really enjoyed it. I think you can hear in our voices we're getting used to the characters and the dynamic, and everyone's already finding it. It surprised me again, listening back, how quickly everyone finds that groove. Like, we pretty much settled into what would become the format for the Danger Club for episodes to come. Really, really quick. Like, it's and that was there was a little bit of pre-work, but only a little bit. Like, everyone sort of like decided their characters, and then, as a little insight, it was all mostly improv.
It was great.
Stuff like that. It's just coming off the yes-anding and also the open questions and stuff.
I remember at the very start of this episode, I joked that my goal was for Velda to have a bad day and then for his life to get steadily worse for the next 6 months. So how did that work out, James? How did Velda's life go from this point on?
I mean, it got better from that. You also said you wanted to kill him, and you failed at that, Dan. So
let's not talk about that too much. You know what I mean?
It was quite funny. It was So right sentiment, wrong character.
Right.
But
all right, let's move on. Let's do episode 3. Let's keep going.
All right, I like this.
Going, man. I'm loving it. All right, episode 3, Papers, Please. It was released on a date. I've written down a date here, but my iPad's gone funny. So
it's the same date as episodes 1 and 2. They all came out on the same day.
Oh yeah, they all came out on the same date, didn't they? All right. So
there's a tip for you. If you're ever making a podcast, batch release episodes. Your first episodes means you get a load of downloads on your first day, push you up the charts. It's a good one to get a foothold.
Good little tip there if you guys want to sort out a podcast. Now, who's got me a review, a summary of episode 3?
So, episode 3, Papers, Please. The Danger Club wake up at Benevic's Tavern having had a sleep. They're not called the Danger Club yet, but they wake up. They've slept off their hangover, or some of them have. MZ and Fulton, I think, have drunk through the night and are still drunk. You then go back to the carnival, en route having quite the showdown with the paperboy, and then make your way up to the carnival where you meet for the first time Almara Dellison, who is the mistress of the carnival. She runs the whole thing. You nearly kidnap Travis again. There's nearly a fight again. Then Almara finally manages to get you in and talk to you. She reveals that there has been a murder in town. Somebody has killed one of the local villages, a man named Arkavin Walder, and they are trying to frame the carnival for it. And she thinks those people are the same people who maybe robbed Velda, that there's somebody causing trouble in the town. And you've been starting to hear rumors that Varisians have been stealing things from the town. So she offers you some money. Turns out, not very much money, because Fulton jumps on it straight away and accepts the first offer. And obviously, to find out what's going on, is clear the name of the carnival. She gives you a letter of recommendation for the sheriff, tells you to go and speak to the sheriff. The Danger Club go and speak to Sheriff Feldane about the crimes. They immediately forget they have the letter, and then remember they have the letter and give it to her. The sheriff tells them that Arkavin Walder has been murdered. She suspects the carnival, but she's willing to give them some time to investigate. They then spend some time trying to shake the sheriff down for more money after having already been paid by the carnival. She eventually gets them out of her office. The Danger Club start asking around, and they hear rumors about a sphinx flying over, or it's some kind of creature. They don't know if it's a sphinx yet. A big creature with 4 legs and wings that's been flying around over the town. Nobody's seen it, but everyone's neighbor seems to have seen it. And Karagor starts to think that maybe it's the sphinx from the carnival that is responsible for this. I don't think you go to the murder scene on this one just yet, do you? I think that's
no, I don't
4.
think so. Yeah.
All right, so that's where we're at the moment. That's the quest. The quest is set.
Nice. All right, so it's the 3rd episode that we recorded on the same day, so we don't have to talk much about what happened on the day. By this point, we're all pretty leathered. We've been recording for a few hours, and I think we're a bit tired as well. Also, episode 3 sound. I don't know if you noticed this, Dangerlings, but there's a little bit of a drop in sound from 1, 2 to 3, because basically what we did is we went back and we've remastered the early episodes, but we didn't upload number 3 due to a technical difficulty, so it's still the original sound. You can still hear what's going on, but every now and again a couple of voices drop out and you can't really hear them because I haven't tweaked the sound on it. But hopefully you still enjoyed the episode. You're still with us, so thank you so much for listening. Tweet us.
From an admin point of view, I'm a fan of this episode because when we remastered the first 2, we lost all the download stats on them, which makes it a real pain for tracking everything. So
yeah. It's the first mention of edible D20s.
Yeah, that's earlier than I thought.
Edible D20s.
I thought that was a much later thing.
I think
we mention it again just as a joke.
Yeah.
Go on, Jake.
No, I was going to say it's much later that Ross had actually managed to get some edible D20s.
There were D6s, I think.
D6s,
they were still edible dice, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got lovely music, but we've got no hello, everyone, and welcome to the Danger Club podcast.
Not there yet.
As you said before, Em and Fulton are still drinking. Shania and Shania's with us, I believe, but I don't know if they've been up all night. James mentions I don't know if you remember this, James, or if you heard it when you listen back, but you mentioned drunk for the first time. So you inspired drunk, but you mention it out of character. So you don't say it in character. You just say, hey, Dan, are they drunk? So that's quite interesting.
I'm a trendsetter. What can you say? I mean,
I know.
I can't help it, mate. I'm an influencer.
At 1738, Shania says, call me Grandel Cracker. We still don't know Shania's name. And then someone says, no, let's call her Gary.
So Grandel Cracker is an Easter egg for so much later in the show. That will come up again. You'll hear it talked about on this show in about 3 years' time, probably. Okay. That does come up way later. If you're one of the Patreon listeners and you're listening to this and you know where that comes up later on, give us a holler. Let us know if you spotted it, because that's a little tiny thing later on.
That's great. We talk about pub salad. Now, if you don't know what pub salad is, pub salad is an invention by the Danger Club podcast, actually, just as a bunch of mates. When we go to the pub, we get a whole bunch of different crisps for our American listeners. That would be potato chips. And we open all the bags up and then we just mix them up into a big kind of sharing platter. So we call it a salad, but it's like not a very healthy salad.
And I think credit where it's due, of all the Danger Club members, I believe it was Drum that first coined the pub salad. As if it had been around for 1,000 years. Maybe it has been, but he made it, and it was just sort of like pub salad.
I remember Drum arriving at the pub and just buying a load of bar snacks. And crucially, it doesn't have to be just crisps. Like, you can throw some pork scratchings and scampi fries and things in there.
Yeah, just love them in.
Yeah. And just in a Jamie Oliver voice, talked us through the recipe for it while just mixing crisps with his hands and then serving it to us on a platter, which I'm pretty sure is illegal to do now. It might have been illegal to do at the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think.
And I like the way you said platter. That makes it's the folded out largest crisp packet of all the ingredients that he'd put in there. So
yeah, that's it.
And some of them not fresh either. It's good to let your crisps sit for a few days open. So half bag crisp, done. Pub salad.
Yeah,
my goodness.
I don't have a time down here, but Fulton tries to pull someone's trousers down, which is something that happens again and again. The Danger Club actually go backstage at a carnival. Now, we as performers out there, and all you performers out there listening, you'll know that if you ever go backstage at a festival or a carnival or anything really, backstage is not the magical place you think it is it?
Yeah, it is. Everyone's just surfing on rainbows, and it's all glittery sparkles everywhere. It's just great.
It can be.
Everyone is kind of sitting around on an upturned bucket or something, and they're just kind of eating whatever, and someone's complaining about something. Do you know what I mean? That's how
Festivals almost always put a lot of their effort, understandably, into the front end of the festival, where the actual punters see it. Like the back end, like you say, it's usually like, look, we've made a seat out of you for a few bricks and a plank. And then someone will come along and take your plank.
The reversal, of course, happens with the camping side of things, where when you go to the crew and cast camping, it's like this peaceful little oasis, and then you go into punter camping and it's a bomb site.
It's a really nice place to be when you've been working to go to the crew camping. Although sometimes you do get that one person that's got a VW van with massive speakers, and they choose to open the doors at 2 a.m. and
the last morning
blooming bass, and you're like, dude, what the cuff? We've all been working. We need to sleep.
Some people just don't know when the party's done.
I think we might be getting old, guys.
Right, we actually get set on the trail to solve the murder. We actually do something that's towards the actual story, which is great. We solve the murder because we might think it might be the same person who robbed Velda's gold. So we got offered a matinee.
You cared about Velda's gold. Nobody cares about Velda's gold.
We did.
No, you didn't. That was something I was going to mention in episode 2. Literally everyone completely forgets about the purpose. Like, I have to keep reminding people, like, oh yeah, Velda's gold. Oh well, never mind. It's like, because Fulton's already handed more than Velda's gold out to a random passerby. I think it's
really funny. Yeah,
it's really funny.
Velda's gold is the casus belli that they have for their war on everybody who lives in this part of the world. Like, that's
absolutely.
their justification for everything.
Now, we get offered 300 gold pieces and a matinee performance, which is great, which we'll come to later. We get the freedom of the carnival as well, which we forget completely. Fulton tries to get Travis to fight him, which is, fight me! Which is really funny. Travis does not fight him. Around 49 minutes, it turns into the movie Shane. Now, the movie Shane, right, there's a reference. It says it turns into the movie Shane, where they're trying to pick up the gun. There's a reference there. Now, Shane the movie is there's a famous scene where there's the villain of the piece. He tries to get someone to pick up a gun who he wants to shoot, and then this guy picks up a gun and the villain kills him, and he says, "You all saw him, he had a gun," right? So he's just like a kind of thing. But it's also referenced in a Bill Hicks sketch. Bill Hicks is a famous comedian from the late 80s, early 90s, who tragically died at about 34 years old of throat cancer. But he was really political. Yeah, he was really young.
Yeah.
He was very political, and he's a very left-wing comedian. I mean, I don't want to sort of judge you on your political views, anyone out there, but he was a pioneer for that sort of comedy. Really, really funny. Made people think differently. He's very funny. And there's a really funny sketch where he references the movie Shane, and that's probably where the first time that any of the Danger Club found out about it. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about that.
I guarantee you, anyone who makes that reference from Shane is not referencing Shane. They're referencing that Bill Hicks skit.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a classic, isn't it? It is amazing.
Do you want to know? So, how much gold was it you guys got offered?
300.
300. Do you know how much you should have been offered?
Go on.
800.
Wow.
So we didn't haggle.
No. She made like an initial offer, and Fulton immediately accepted like the first offer. Like she would have haggled up right up to that amount. And I think you did get paid something like it's the thing that I have to do a lot of the times is find ways of sneaking gold to you guys, because you kind of you always like undersell when you bargain with people, or you bargain with the wrong people and get nothing, or like you never just do the job and get paid for it at the end of the thing. Like it will always end up being like, I need to find a way to like get a couple of 100 gold into these guys' pockets so they can buy some new armor.
Right.
Well, it's also
good to know.
Quite poetic, because Fulton was just determined to hand away all his gold. Like it was just his mission. Yeah. Ross decided that was the thing that this dwarf did, which he just gave away his money. And then when the sniff of any money came along, it's like, yeah, I'll take it. I've got no gold. So cool.
At 49.50, we meet Bobby Mack, which is one of our favourite NPCs. I don't know about you, but we loved.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about Bobby Mack.
Loved Bobby Mack. 50. 38, we have mystery music for the first time, which I loved. We meet Sheriff Feldane, who is a redhead. I completely missed that she was a redhead. The locked box is where we need to go, as the owner has been murdered, Archivane Welder, and we meet Agnes in the next episode. The 1 hour mark, we have our first reference to a winger speech. Now, this is a reference to Community, which is a television show written by Dan Harmon, I believe. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it is.
By Dan Harmon, yeah, and who also did Rick and Morty. And Jeff Winger is a character in that who tends to make big long speeches that don't really go anywhere, but they still rile people up. And I believe M does that speech. Fulton and M find the crime scene and just going to the toilet. They roll like natural 20s on that, just going for a piss up a tree, and they actually find the crime scene, whereas everyone else doesn't know where's going on. At 107, we get a first look to camera moment, which is kind of where one of our characters looks to camera or breaks the fourth wall, and it's Philippe. He shrugs as if to say, who else but Drow, because Shania does something wonderful.
This is the point where Philippe started to become my favourite character in it. I think this is where I was like, ooh, the pets are like my characters. I get to have fun with them. I start actually having fun with Philippe.
It's great. And then we leave the episode with Karagor assuming that it's the Sphinx.
I was so glad about
crime.
That. I was so happy, because that's the great red herring of this adventure. Like that's the thing you're meant to latch onto straight away. And it was about the first time that you guys had bit at a thing you were meant to bite at, rather than just going to war with everybody. And I was like, yes.
So
finally.
3 hours in, we finally decide to do something which is related to the plot of this game.
I really like, I've talked about it before, I really like Sheriff Feldane because she starts this grand tradition that happens across the podcast of kind of like small town sheriffs who are completely out of their depth about things. The difference is that like she's pretty good. She's just never dealt with anything this big before, you know. I think her predecessor was murdered by people in the heist that she talks about in another one. But like she's like No Country for Old Men kind of thing. And then later on you get Rolf Garley in Plaguestone, who is just an idiot and just was never going to be able to deal with anything. But I quite like her as a character, even though you guys are awful to her for the whole time. I can't believe you guys were trying to get money out of, like, having just been given money. Like, she was your first contact. They were like,
bunch of dicks. Here's
some money. Go and speak to this person. They might have some information for you. And you went to your first contact and were like, what are you going to pay us? She was like, what? I thought you were asking me for something. You're like, no, pay us.
Yeah. Any other
that 25 gold back?
I remember as a player, because I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but I remember feeling quite relieved to start following a path, because it had been fairly chaotic. Like we'd just been sort of bounding around the place and going everywhere. And it was nice to be like, oh, cool, we've actually got a little somewhere to go, something to investigate, something solid. Because it's easy to, like, again, listening back, you know, you can see the path lying up before you. But when you're playing it, it's like there's a lot going on in this adventure path. And it was quite nice to have something to latch onto.
Team, that was episodes 2 and 3 of the Danger Club podcast on our deep dive Danger Recall. Please go to our Discord, have a look, go to the Twitter, go to the Facebook, leave us a review if you've never done that before. Go on iTunes. That's the only way this podcast is going to grow. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being my guest, Dan Thompson.
Thanks, Colin.
And James Lockhart.
Thanks, Colin. It's great.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.